Hi, I'm Rupert. Do you want to hear a story?
Long ago, in a faraway magical place called Chunju, there lived a little boy named Rupert. Rupert was a normal boy in most ways. He had a mommy and a daddy. He had a brother and a sister. He had a dog and a pet turtle. He loved his family. He went to school and had friends. Even though Rupert had everything he needed to be happy, he was not. You see, Rupert had a problem. Yesterday, Rupert had caught his mommy crying. He didn't like seeing that. He had always admired his mommy for being so strong all the time. Nothing seemed to bother her. She was always taking care of her family, putting band-aids on boo-boos, shopping, helping with homework, cooking, washing clothes, and cleaning the house. In addition to that, you could always count on her to fix anything, even hurt feelings. She actually looked like she enjoyed all of that. Daddy called her his little dynamo. It was obvious that she really loved her family. She never complained, but today it was different. Something had upset her, and Rupert didn't like it. When Rupert was a little boy, he only thought about himself. Back then, he wouldn't have cared if he saw his mommy crying. But now he was a little older. It was really bothering him. "What's wrong, Mommy?" he asked her. She quickly wiped her tears away, as if she was embarrassed that he had seen them. "Oh, it's nothing, baby," she said. But Rupert knew deep down it wasn't nothing. Later that evening, Rupert heard her talking softly to Daddy about it. "It finally got to me today," she said softly. "The kids just keep on making messes and never cleaning up after themselves," she admitted. "Mommy didn't eat half of the meal I worked so hard to make her, but still somehow made a mess at the dinner table. Ralphie won't clean up his room unless I ask him 12 times, and Rupert doesn't even clean up after himself when he misses the toilet. Sometimes I think that they don't care about anybody but themselves," she said rather angrily. When Rupert heard his mommy say his name, it really hurt his heart. Rupert couldn't stand the thought of anybody hurting his mommy, especially someone named Rupert. But that wasn't Rupert's only problem. You see, there was a boy in Rupert's Sunday school class at church. His name was Johnny. Johnny always sat in the front row of the Sunday school because he wanted to be a good boy and he wanted God to be happy with him. Johnny was always the first kid to answer when the teacher had a question for the Sunday school class. Everyone could tell that Johnny was trying very hard to be the best kid in the entire class, maybe even the best kid in the entire church, possibly even the best kid in the entire world. It sure looked like he wanted God to be pleased with him. If his Sunday school teacher asked the class to memorize a Bible verse before next Sunday, Johnny would not only memorize that verse, he would memorize the verse before and the verse after it too. From Rupert's point of view, Johnny truly was perfect. Rupert even had a name that he called Johnny behind his back, Mr. Johnny Perfect. Johnny seemed to love to put money in the offering plate at church. He never used harsh or angry words, or even got into trouble of any kind. He was seemingly the perfect kid. Whenever he was asked to confess his sins, he probably couldn't think of any to confess. You see, Johnny was a good boy, probably because Johnny's dad was the preacher at that church. With all of his good living, it seemed surprising to Rupert that Johnny wasn't very happy, though. It was almost as if Johnny was trying to be good, maybe for the wrong reasons. But the truth was that when Rupert compared himself to Johnny, Rupert felt like he didn't measure up. If God loved people only if they were good, then Rupert was sure God would love Johnny and not him. When Rupert first noticed this, it made Rupert want to try harder and harder to be good. Rupert felt that God surely wasn't very proud of him because of all the bad things he had done in his life. When he was younger, Rupert had stolen something from the magic shop. He had lied to his mommy and daddy, and he even snuck out of his house to spend time late at night with his best friend Kenny a time or two. Not to mention all the times he had been cross with his little sister and brother. No, Rupert didn't have any trouble at all thinking of bad things he had done in his life. The more Rupert thought about it, the sadder and sadder he felt about how God must think of him. So, Rupert had two problems. Mommy was disappointed with him, and surely God was disappointed in him too. Rupert was hanging his head pretty low now and shuffling his feet as he walked through the park. He was feeling about as low down as a worm in a ditch. "What's your problem?" came a voice from out of the blue. It was Rupert's best friend Kenny, who had seen him slow-poking along and shuffling his feet, not to mention having his hands in his pockets. Kenny could easily see that Rupert was feeling very sorry for himself. "Oh, hi, buddy," Rupert said, trying to sound cheerful. "Just feeling a little down today." "Well, when I feel down, I just buy something. A new baseball, a yo-yo, a popsicle, or some candy. That almost always makes me feel better," said Kenny. "Yeah," said Rupert, "that might make me feel better for a little while, but I doubt that would last very long," said Rupert. "Well," said Kenny, "if it wore off, I'd just go buy something else." "I don't have any money," Rupert replied, hoping Kenny would change the subject. "If you don't have any money," Kenny said with a sneer, "I just take what I want and put it in my pocket when nobody's looking." "I'm certainly not going to do that," replied Rupert. "I've done that before. That definitely wouldn't make me feel better about myself. It would make me feel worse." "To each his own," grinned Kenny. The two boys were suddenly interrupted. "The pump house is overflowing," shouted a boy, excited from across the park. Rupert and Kenny broke into a dead run and shot across the park to get in the action as quickly as they could. You see, when the pump house in Chunju overflowed, it created a gushing stream of water that came rushing down the hill. It was the perfect surprise that every kid loved to play in. It was especially fun when it was a hot summer day like it was today. It was kind of silly since they could have done the same thing with the water from the hose or the water in the stream, but there was something special about the pump house water. It came barreling down the dry overflow ditch, and if you were quick, you could make a dam ahead of it or have a stick race down the torrent. If you teamed up with some of your buddies, you could even make a little swimming hole. However you sliced it, there was something magical about the pump house overflow. You were sure to get wet and you were sure to get muddy, but if nothing else, it made you forget about your problems for a half hour or so, and that was just what Rupert needed right now. When the water stopped, there were dozens of boys and girls dripping wet, covered in mud, all smiling from ear to ear. Sure enough, Rupert had forgotten about his problems for a half hour or so, but before too long, as the excitement wore off, the same sinking feeling enveloped him again. Kenny suggested that they climb the old pine tree, so they did that for a while, and Rupert forgot about his problems for a while. Then they worked on a secret fort they were building, and Rupert forgot about his problems for a few minutes. That nasty bad feeling stayed with him the whole day. From time to time he would get distracted, but after a little while that sinking feeling would always return to him again. When he and Kenny parted ways and each headed home for supper, Rupert wasn't sure he was ready to face his mommy. What if she started crying again? "I'm not sure I can always do the right thing to keep her happy," he thought to himself. "You look like you're deep in thought again," said a voice behind him. It was a familiar voice. It was the voice of the nice man who owned the magic shop. "Anything you want to talk about?" Rupert had learned to trust this special man. Rupert knew that this man cared about him and always wanted the best for him. Yeah, he finally admitted. I just feel like everybody's disappointed with me, Rupert finally said. Everybody? Asked the man. Well, Rupert admitted, I know my mommy is disappointed in me, and I'm guessing that since I have done a lot of bad things in my life, I'm pretty sure that God is disappointed in me too. Both God and your mommy love you very much, the man said. I think that they both just want what's best for you. I'm pretty sure that they both care more about your attitude than your actions. I think that they both want you to do certain things, but only if you're doing it because your love for them, not for any other reason, not because of fear of punishment, not because you want to feel good about yourself, only because you love them. It was quiet for a minute or two. The nice man always gave Rupert time to think things over. Both God and your mommy want you to love them, and they each want you to do the right thing because you love them, not for any other reason. If you mess up, it doesn't change their love for you one little bit. Never has, never will, said the man. Rupert knew deep in his heart that what the man was telling was the truth. He started to smile. I'm going to do what Mommy and God want me to do because I love them, he finally said. And when I mess up, I know they'll love me anyway, he murmured with a grin. I don't have to. I get to. A few minutes later, Rupert burst into his house, found his mommy, wrapped his arms around her, gave her a big hug and said, I love you, Mommy. I'm going to try to do all the things you'd like me to do from now on. I'm sorry I mess up sometimes. His mommy held him tight for a minute, then held him so she could look at him and said, I love you too, my special boy. A tear ran down her cheek again, but this time it was a happy tear. Rupert didn't mind seeing those kind of tears. No, not one little bit. The end.